Welcome, everyone, and thanks for joining us tonight for Ask the Expert. I'm Catherine, and I'm the virtual program coordinator for the National Aphasia Association. The National Aphasia Association is a nonprofit organization whose mission is to promote public awareness and understanding of aphasia, to promote research that aims to improve the lives of people with aphasia, and to provide support to all persons with aphasia and their care partners. In just a moment, I'll be introducing tonight's phenomenal panel of experts who will be talking about different options and journeys to returning to work with aphasia. But first, a couple notes. If you have questions for our panelists tonight, please write your questions in the Q&A section of the Zoom toolbar. And please feel free to say hello or add a comment in the chat section. We will answer as many of your questions about tonight's topic as we can. If we don't get to your question, or if you have another question about aphasia, email the NAA at answers@aphasia.org. Or you can join us next Wednesday for our new virtual conversation group after the expert. So as a reminder, this is a new virtual conversation group that is an opportunity for us to come together and talk about each month's Ask the Expert topic. Mara Silverman and I are co-advising this group, and this month we'll be meeting on Wednesday, February 19th at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. So we hope to see many of you there. And then one final reminder is that we are now offering one professional development hour toward ASHA certification maintenance for speech language pathologists who are attending the entire Ask the Expert webinar live. A certificate will be shared in the chat at the end of the webinar. And now to introduce tonight's panel of experts. Sami Wong is a speech language pathologist in the Pacific Northwest. She first learned about aphasia when her dad had a stroke in 2008. After school, she helped him with speech therapy exercises. Sami loves helping people with aphasia live full and happy lives. She is working on a doctorate. Her research focuses on how people with aphasia can return to work. She also works for an augmentative and alternative communication, or AAC, company, and has her own small business. Todd Berreth is an artist, designer, architect, and technologist, and an assistant teaching professor in the Media Art, Design, and Technology Department at North Carolina State University. He is a member of the Chancellor's Visual Narrative Faculty Cluster. He has presented artwork locally, nationally, and internationally, including ACM SIGGRAPH, Leonardo Art Journal, IEEE Visweek, and the China Science and Technology Museum, among other venues. Todd had a stroke 4 years ago. He still has aphasia and apraxia, but is teaching again in the same role. Research is a key for him going forward and doing aphasia advocacy. Michael Obel-Omia is a public speaker, writer, and educator who has aphasia due to a stroke in 2016. In his tireless efforts to improve, he has found poetry allows him to express himself in ways that speech cannot. An avid advocate for people with aphasia, Michael has published essays about his experiences in the journal Blood and Thunder, Musings on the Art of Medicine, the Boston Globe, the Providence Journal, and Rhode Island NPR's This I Believe. In 2021, he published a book of poetry, Finding My Words, Aphasia Poetry. At present, he is writing a book, Journey of Recovery. In August 2022, Michael cycled from Missoula, Montana to Revere Beach, Massachusetts, 3,383 miles with Stroke Across America. Michael lives with his family in the beautiful town of Barrington, Rhode Island. And last but not least, James Jett was born in Fort Smith, Arkansas, and lived in Waldron, Arkansas for 14 years until he moved to Pineville, Louisiana for his senior year. James has been in the Army National Guard and on active duty in the Army and Army Reserves. He married his wife, Dr. Tamla Jett, in 1996. They have 2 children, Taryn and Matthew. He and his family currently live in West Columbia, South Carolina. James worked for Cisco Systems for 20 years as a program project manager. He went around the world and back. While he was working at the Olympic Games / Paralympic Games in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, he had 2 mini strokes. Although James is now retired and disabled, he is an ambassador for the USC Aphasia Lab and the National Aphasia Association. He's an active member of the American Legion Congaree Post 90, Congaree Cares, a Royal Rangers commander, and a member of the men's ministry at Life Springs Church. So to start us off, Sami, I will pass it on to you, and then we'll hear from the rest of our panelists.
That sounds great. Thank you. Okay. All right, we're going to talk about returning to work with aphasia. I'm going to start by just going over a little bit more about me and my background. We'll then talk about how we think about and define work. I'll share some common return to work challenges, talk about some opportunities and some resources, and then we will hear from our panelists. There's also going to be time for Q&A at the end. So like Catherine said, I'm the daughter of a person with aphasia. My dad had his stroke when he was in his 40s, and he had aphasia from it. He really wanted to get back to work after his stroke as a sales trainer, but it was really challenging for him to return to a role that required so much communication. So his experience is a big inspiration for me looking, at return to work. Here's a picture of my dad and me standing by the Rocky statue in Philadelphia. I'm also a speech language pathologist, so I work at a company called Lingraphica, which makes devices to help people with communication challenges like aphasia. And I'm also a researcher, so I am working on my doctorate right now, and my research is looking at return to work for people with aphasia, and specifically what the speech therapist role in supporting that journey looks like and can look like. And I'm also a mom. I recently had a baby, so he's 5 months old, and he's one of the greatest joys. If you hear little squeals in the background, that's him just wanting to say hi. Okay, so let's talk about work and returning to work. Let's start by just thinking about why we work. What is it that makes you want to work or want to go back to work? And I just want you to take a moment to think about that. So some people say that they want to work because it gives them purpose. Work can feel really meaningful. It can feel like this calling, or, a job can feel like it's just the right fit or something that you're made for or meant to do. Some people work for the social aspect of it, right? Work can provide space to interact and talk with coworkers and customers on a regular basis. Gives us a great place to connect with people. Some people like to work just because it makes them feel good. Depending on the work you do and what your passion is, work can make us feel really confident. We can be really proud of ourselves and the work that we do. Some people work because it gives them something to do. Work often comes with a schedule or a routine. Sometimes you have set hours, and your day can, follow the same general path or routine, and it can provide some consistency, which can be really nice. And then, of course, some people, if not everyone, works to make money, right? Work can give us this financial stability and security. And looking at these reasons, we can work for multiple reasons, and you don't have to just pick one of these. And these aren't all of the reasons why people work. So you might have a reason that I didn't mention. So thinking about why we work, we can start to think of returning to work as a return to purpose or a return to passion. For example, I work because I love helping other people. I find it really rewarding. It makes me feel really good. And I also feel really connected to my dad when I work with other people with aphasia. So when we think of returning to work as more of a return to purpose or a return to passion, we can actually expand the way that we think about work. And with that, we have more options for what returning to work can look like. So returning to work or purpose can be a full-time job or a part-time job. It can also be volunteering. Returning to work or purpose can also look like taking new classes, learning some new skills. Can also be your role as a parent or a caregiver. Returning to work or purpose is really just a regular activity that you enjoy, something that you're really passionate about and feels meaningful. So again, when we shift the way that we think about this idea of work and expand our definition to focus on a return to passion or a return to purpose, we have so many more opportunities that fit into this idea of working. So go ahead and take a moment again and think about your why, right? What is your passion or your purpose? What could that be when we think about returning to something meaningful? All right, now we're going to talk about some return to work challenges, opportunities, and resources. But before we do that, I just want to be really clear that these ideas may work for some people, but they're not going to work for everyone. And going back to work is not an easy decision, and it's usually not a quick process. Each person's journey is unique, and their return to work journey has to be personalized and customized for them. So these are just some general and common guidelines and ideas to start with. So let's talk about some of the common challenges when we think about going back to work. Just talking about going back to work can be really hard. It can feel really vulnerable. We might not be sure of the details. And then, of course, with aphasia, that can make it really challenging to actually share your thoughts and your goals and start that conversation. Looking for or interviewing for a job can also be really challenging, especially if the person that you're talking to doesn't know what aphasia is, right? It can be hard to explain aphasia to someone who is thinking of hiring you, right? I think a lot of times, we say aphasia is a loss of language, not intellect, but it can be hard to explain that in an interview process. And then, of course, going back to work can maybe impact your disability benefits. It can be challenging to think about returning to a paid job if it means losing your benefits. And even finding information about how working or returning to work can impact those can be really hard. And then let's say you find a job and you go to start that job. The responsibilities and those measures of success or performance measures might be hard to meet, right? Sometimes with aphasia, tasks might take a little bit longer. We might move a little bit slower than we used to through things, and it might be hard to meet really high productivity expectations. And then, of course, overall, it can just be a little bit challenging or difficult to find that right fit, a job or a purpose that not only meets your needs, but is one that you can be successful at long term. So, those are some of the common challenges. But what about return to work opportunities? How do we go about finding that right fit? So you can try talking to your former boss or your previous employer. Some people with aphasia are able to complete an internship or a volunteer experience at their old job, or go back part-time or full-time at their previous company. You can also look into being a research participant. The National Aphasia Association has a great webpage with research opportunities listed, and sometimes you can be paid for participating in research. You can also look into some volunteering opportunities in your area. Even if volunteering is not your long-term goal, it can be a really nice way to kind of test out what returning to work might feel like, right? Some people who start out with volunteering find that returning to a full-time role or capacity is a little bit too demanding or a little bit too tiring or fatiguing, or they just don't really enjoy that role the way that they thought they would or the way that they used to. So volunteering is a nice low stakes way to explore that. And you can also try leading an aphasia group session. So if you're part of a local or even an online aphasia group, you can maybe ask the facilitators if you can lead a specific activity that you're passionate about, or try to lead one of the meetings. And then, of course, you can always look for a job opportunity in a different industry than you were in before. Maybe you worked at a bank before and you decide to look into retail. Or maybe you were an engineer and you decide to explore a job in customer service. So, those are some of the common return to work opportunities that you can explore. But what about the resources to actually help find these opportunities and then make returning to work more successful in the long run? So here are some common resources that people with aphasia may use or may find helpful. Your speech therapist can help you work on communication and thinking skills that you might need at work, right? Practicing answering job interview questions, writing a resume, those can all be functional goals to work towards. And then your speech therapist may be able to connect you with local resources and local opportunities as well. And your local or online aphasia group can also be a great way to hear from other people about how they have tried to or gone back to work. Groups may also know of local resources or opportunities. And you can also get feedback from other people with aphasia on what might be more successful or what might be too challenging to go back to. And there are some state and federal resources that can help you return to work. You may have heard of vocational rehabilitation, which helps individuals with disabilities find meaningful employment. There's also the Social Security Administration's Ticket to Work program, which provides career development for individuals who receive Social Security disability benefits. You can also try a high-tech communication device that might help you during a job interview or communicate on the job. So devices like this Graphica Touch Talk can be programmed and customized specifically for job interview question and answers, as well as kind of setting up folders for your daily job responsibilities. And then artificial intelligence or AI may be able to help you with your resume. It might be able to help write a script to explain aphasia. It can help you maybe understand an email and also answer that email, and then so much more. There is a lot to explore with AI, but there's also a big learning curve to using it successfully. And then it's not perfect. Sometimes AI might misunderstand what something means, and it can give you incorrect advice or wrong answers. So it's still not a perfect solution. So, as you think about the return to work journey and your journey, just remember that what you do next doesn't have to be what you do forever. Thank you so much. And now we'll go ahead and hear from our panelists.
Thank you, Sami. Todd, would you be able to share your experience with your aphasia journey and thinking about return to work?
Um, I'm Todd Berreth. I had a stroke 4 years ago on December 9th, 2020. I have aphasia and praxis still. I went to went to work at NC State University as a assistant teaching professor in the media arts, design, and technology department. Before the stroke happened, though, I was the assistant professor in the art and design department and a core member of the visual narrative cluster, a tenure track position with a research heavy position. I resigned from that position and has a new one that suits me a little bit better. My wife, Meg, my kids, my family, and my friends helped me through the process together, and I'm recovering still. I was not sure if I was going to work again. I didn't speak at all, besides yeses and no questions and simple sentences for about 6 months' time. When we worked on it with my speech therapist and my friends and family members. For example, my wife, sister's husband, Rich, helped me with my conjugation and verbs. Well, I'm sorry. Helped me out for 2 years, discussing with me my sentence structure, my verb conjugations, talk of the day, and other kinds of things. So I went back to work 1.5 years after the stroke happened. Derek, my chair of my department, was supportive of me through this ordeal. Um, in a research capacity, I finished up a grant I started. I didn't get the grant, by the way. I use Dragon Speak software when I dictate and I type with my left hand because my right hand is paralyzed. And then 1 year later, I am teaching digital imaging and modeling classes asynchronously on an NCSU website called Moodle. I taught a physical class last fall, a digital imaging, graduate design studio class with another professor. So I worked on my speech every day, but it's hard work all the time. It's exhausting work, but I'm doing better every day. I got into a conference, the 40th annual National Basic Design Student Conference, and I will be talking about aphasia support and the cut up style project. Professor Katie Strong is a researcher and a professor at Central Michigan University, and she is a speech pathologist with an interest in storytelling and aphasia support. She and I met 3 years ago, and we searched around for something that we could do together. We worked on a storytelling poetry project called Cut Ups Storytelling, developed by William Burroughs, a novelist in the 60s, and Brian Gerson, a visual artist. Then we thought we could do something with aphasia people, talking about past, present, and future versions of themselves. In 2023, we had a talk at the Aphasia Access Conference, and we did a round table discussion for an hour with aphasia participants cutting up projects for 45 minutes. I will be talking about the conference for 5 minutes though, right now. I wrote an essay too about our work and also about potentially teaching a new class on aphasia support and gaming and narrative experiences with my students. I got a Vivistin procedure 6 months ago. The stroke paralyzed my right side of my body. Through OT and PT therapy, the right arm leg is fine now, but my right arm has some problems, and I don't use it a lot anymore. The surgeon planted a node device in my vagal nerve of my neck area, and with a chest battery. Through extensive OT therapy for 3 months, I'm having more mobility now. I get swipes of the magnet, and I do my therapy sessions every day, every week, or sorry, a day, 30 minutes a session for 8 sessions per day. Sometimes I'm doing something like, sometimes I am doing something else, like working, and I get a lot less of that for a while. But I am starting it up again extensively, and I'll do more sessions every day. It's a work in a process. So I'll stop for now. It's a journey through life, but I'm getting better every day.
Thank you so much, Todd. If folks have questions for Todd or any of our panelists, please write them in the Q&A and we'll get a chance to answer those later. Next, let's hear from Michael.
Hello, how are you? Michael Obel-Omia, and I'm blessed and I'm humbled. I've been thinking about Sami's idea about a purpose, and well, I've been working right now from Roxbury Latin, University School, William Penn Charter, Paul Cuffey, and Cambridge Friends School. In 28 years, I was teaching, director of admissions, football, wrestling, lacrosse with them. And I was the head of upper school at university school. I was doing that, and of course, I was a head of school at Paul Cuffey School. And I just loved the work I did that time with reading. I loved English literature. And I'm really frustrated. Now I've been about almost 9 years. I'm frustrated that I can't do anything. And I finally said, okay, I'm retired. I'm retired of this work. That's fine. I'm not retired anymore because what I do now is everything I do to stay busy all day long. For instance, um, stay positive, work hard, make it happen. So every day is full of um, how grateful I am and how humble I am, but I had a purpose. Um, Cycling every day, weightlifting, Pilates, yoga, um, Aphasia Resource Center, Toastmasters, the Moth, storytelling, book club, etc. Always doing something all day. And for instance, for 1 week, this is Monday through Thursday. I woke up on Monday and I started with Aphasia Resource Center in Barrington, Rhode Island, to Boston University. So my wife drove me to Providence, Rhode Island, to the MBTA. I arrived from the MBTA to Back Bay in Boston, took the T into Boston University, waited about 40 minutes, and then had Toastmasters by Jerry Kaplan and the whole team. And then at 1 o'clock, I had 1 o'clock performance. And I came back uh, the day from storytelling and performance was fine, but usually I'll have Black American Aphasia Conference. I'll have Mark Harder, Monday poetry, and Thursday tonight, right now, I'd work with Thursday night poetry right now with Jerry Hepner and Katie Polson. It's 7:30 now, but they've been doing poetry. And on Tuesday, I would try to do like Pilates or yoga, and of course, piano. Every day, once a week, I learn piano because I have to do improving, always improving. My mother-in-law moved from Natick into Bedford and left this huge piano, and I said, okay, improving, always improving. So I learned how to do that now. Once a week, I work with Missy every day for half an hour to learn again. When this ends at 8 o'clock, I'll go downstairs and I'll do the piano. Practice, practice, practice. Um, Also, today, Thursday, morning or afternoon, Carolyn started the book club with Denise Lowell on book club. And for an hour, about 75 minutes, we talked about the book club with aphasia, which is tremendous about that. That's today and Thursday, about at 5 o'clock today, about at about 3:30 to 5 o'clock. And I'm always doing something about that. So I'm busy every day with Pilates and yoga. And yes, I've retired, but also I'm thinking about background back check so I can go back to cycling and do work on that. Um, that's a wonderful piece with working every day. I love that kind of work because the other driving I do comes from improving, always improving, always want to do a little bit better. And right now, I'm thinking about um, Stroke Across America in 2022 when I cycled from Missoula, Montana to Revere Beach, 87 days, every day grinding 50 miles, 60 miles, 70 miles, 80 miles, because that was part of the purpose. I had a stroke. I have to be better every day. So right now I'm thinking about Pittsburgh to Washington, D.C., cycling right now, making improving, always improving. Maybe in August, I'll cycle from Pittsburgh to Washington, D.C., 333 miles. I'll ask Arlen Hall, Bike Eternity, and I'll travel with them from Pittsburgh to Washington, D.C., because that's training every day being physical. In 2016, I was about 230 pounds, working hard because I want to do it, but I was about 230 pounds. I had a stroke 21 in May, and I said, I gotta lose some weight probably. Well, now I only weigh about 190 pounds, about 40 pounds because of that. But I also know exercise, 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 practice, practice, practice every single day, doing something, rowing, anything I do to be better about it every single day. How can I be better? I go tonight, good night, thank you, God bless. But I know what can I do to be better every single day, a little bit better every day. One last piece I'll talk about. It was in December 2016. I was working with Mark Buffet about speech therapists. And in my mind, I was thinking, okay, I got to get back with Cambridge Friends. I've got to get back in. It's now December. I got to get back in. And he said, okay, Michael, read this little writing and let me know. So I sat down for about 15, 20 minutes. He said, now read it. And I read it, and it was horrible. I cried and I cried and cried as I tried to figure out what I was going to say. And I said, okay, improving, always improving. About 15 or 20 of my Middlebury College friends, I'd write a journal, and I write every single day about that. So now, musings, I write to 3,278 days every single day from 23 December 2016 to today, 13 February 2025, 3,278 days. Every day I write about musings. I've gotten 500 people before to say what I did every day because improving, always improving. So that's an important part to me is every day when I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I said, okay, I have to sit down about a journal, musings every single day. Improving, always improving. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing, Michael. And last but not least, James, will you share your story?
Hello, everyone. I'm James Jett. And if you don't know, I used to work for Cisco System, and I was a IT project manager, and I was there 20 years from Cisco. But probably, I think it was about, I think it was like 15 years. They said, "Hey, would you like to work for the Olympic game and the Paralympic game, and you be the project manager?" And I said, "Sure, that'd be great." Well, um, I used to go there like 4 years before the Olympic game. I used to fly around, see the stuff that we had to do, um, and then at the end, I think it was it was July until September. I stayed there in Rio de Janeiro um, for the game and the Paralympic game. Well, in September 13th, I had a stroke or whatever. And so, and if you don't know what the Olympic game where I was at in um Rio de Janeiro is Portuguese. So I couldn't say like the nurses and the doctors, they're Portuguese and I'm English. So it was like, luckily I had some engineers that could help me and help me talk about what it was. And so, but like I said, I had two mini stroke, and most of the stuff, the physical was fine. You know, I could walk and do stuff, but the mental, I couldn't say anything really or whatever. And if I was saying anything, I would say he versus she versus he or whatever stuff. But I stayed there for 7 days at the hospital, and they had to have a doctor to help me fly back home. Um, and so that was in so I left Rio de Janeiro. I came back to Columbia, South Carolina, and that was I was there for the hospital there for another I think it was 7 days as well, and then I came back home. And then I started to whatever you call um, I think it's just the one-on-one, do the speech therapy. So I was there for like a year and a half, and I wanted to go back to work for Cisco, and they says, okay, so I tried. I went back to Cisco for about 6 months, and they says, you're not doing as much as you were, and plus they were doing some laid off or whatever, and you're 20 years that you're retired. And I said, that's fine. So I'm disabled, and what I do now is once I left at Cisco, I had to learn something else to do, and I found out I have the USC aphasia group or whatever, and that's what I started. So we had a group for that, and that's what I like to help other people. So I've been there for, I think it's been almost 6 years for the USC aphasia group. So we do stuff normally do for the group for an hour, and then we also have the drama club for about another hour. That's normally on Wednesday, and so that's a couple hours. And then on Friday, I do the reading group or whatever that have to learn how to do that I can type and talk about what the reading we're doing. And then other that, uh, I also like to do work for the ambassador, and I'm one of the ambassadors to help other people because I like to help other people to know what aphasia mean, and that helps other people to tell what it is, and that's what I do for that. So other than that, I also like to do some other stuff. I do the poetry as well. Also, also do some one-on-one with some people, just talk about what aphasia mean, and then I also have some other. I think we did some Toastmaster as well. And then also like for the national stuff, we do the game. I think that's once a month for the game show, and then we do the also the lunch bunch. We also have the lunch bunch where I have, but also uh, we just talk about what it is, and so. And I think that's about it for this. I like to ask any other questions and stuff because I like to help other people, and that helps me.
Thank you so much, James. And I can ask our panelists to all come and rejoin. As those of you in the audience can probably tell, James and Todd and Michael all have very different experiences and stories. Of course, we say if you've met one person with aphasia, you've met one person with aphasia. So, but I hope that hearing this variety of stories and experiences gives you some inspiration. There's certainly a theme here of, to use your words, Michael, improving, always improving. And it's clear from what our panelists here are doing is that they are staying so busy with their work and their passion. So, with that being said, we did get a bunch of questions. We will try to get to as many as we can, and I might even try to combine a couple questions into one. If we don't get to your questions, a reminder that you can email us. We'll share that email in the chat, or join us for our conversation group next Wednesday. So one question that we got a couple of times, folks are wondering how you manage fatigue with work or all these passions. You know, you guys are talking about physical activities, hobbies, work. James and Todd and Michael, do you still get fatigued? How do you manage that?
I have a
Sometimes.
nap. Have a
Todd
nap
says he takes a nap, okay?
every day.
Well, when I was cycling every day,
Oh, me
miles,
too.
60 miles, um, yeah, I was tired. I'm tired today. Every day, 70 miles, somewhere in Nebraska, I was exhausted. I lie down for 20 minutes or 30 minutes, I was exhausted. And Aphasia Resource Center at Boston University, I'm always busy that day and I'm exhausted at night. And on Tuesday, I'm very, very relieved, just kind of a little quiet that day. But most days, just moving, just moving.
Yeah. I do walking or running too for me personally.
Like to do whatever I want to or whatever, but also like help other people. So it's sometimes for me, I normally, start out about 7:30 and normally go till midnight and it feels like I'm back to work, but I can't do what I need to.
So James, how do you manage? Do you get more fatigued? Do
It
you
does. I have to sit down or whatever, but I mean, there's sometimes, especially probably in in the week, the weekends or whatever. I like to, I like to watch TV, and normally when I watch TV, I go to sleep real quick, and then it's like, okay, I have to rewind. It's like that's but like I says, I said I'm more physical now than what I was. So when after I had a stroke, so.
Mhm.
I have a nap like in the afternoon times for an hour or so. Yes.
I see
It's
Denise is
fresh
sharing
every.
in the chat that she takes naps too, and every other day is less busy. I like that idea of sort of pacing yourself too. Great. Thank you for that question. We had a couple people ask about disability. One of the not fun realities of thinking about whether to return to work. Sami, just generally, I know this is probably varies for each person, but any advice for who or what resources folks should reach out to about questions with regards to disability?
Yeah, that's a great question. The hard thing is that everyone's a little bit different. Everyone's situation is a little bit different. So we don't have an easy one size fits all or even one size fits some approach. I think with thinking about disability benefits, it's really important to think about maybe consulting a lawyer. Maybe your speech therapist can point you in the direction of someone who can help. Vocational rehabilitation counselors can also provide some disability benefits counseling. And then the Americans with Disabilities Act is really important just to be aware of, what accommodations you can get when you're returning to work. And then what, might be denied by an employer if it's too expensive for them or if you're not able to meet those essential functions of the job.
Great, thank you. And that's also a great question. If folks have questions about that, feel free to email the National Aphasia Association and we can point you in the right direction.
Yeah, also for the disability, if you're a military from the veterans or whatever, you need to ask the veteran, the VA, like the hospital and stuff, and they can help you for that as well. Especially you had a stroke, and aphasia or whatever, if you have brain injuries or whatever, and they can help some of that with the disability. So
That's a great point. Thank you, James.
I know that with aphasia, stroke, I'm still a little embarrassed by it, almost 9 years. I'm still a little embarrassed, and I go through it invisible. I go to MBTA, Boston University, very quiet, very invisible. I know what I'm supposed to do, but when I have a rare occasion I need help, I think about practice, 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 the right question, what it might be. But usually I know what I have to do. Today, what I'm going to do is just do that. But when I needed help, I'd ask for help.
Thank you. All right, next
So,
question. We had a couple of people ask about technology and accommodations. I know, Todd, you mentioned something specifically that you use,
right.
but folks are wondering, does work, offer or require accommodations? What might be some of the accommodations? What kind of technology do you use that helps? And again, whether with work, your passions. So if folks would like to share.
For myself, Dragon Sleep software. So yeah, IT people installed it, and it's fine there.
And I think
Okay,
we
it's
shared, there's a link in the chat for the Dragon software and yeah, so we'll keep sharing those resources as they're mentioned. Sorry, go ahead.
okay. At 6:55, uh, I'm yelling out, Liza, 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 my
Oh,
daughter, because for technology, I needed her here how to ask questions. So how do I do that? Um,
right.
it's changed so much. It's incredible how much technology, CPT technology, all that stuff, and I'm getting slower and slower every day. Um, Technology is complex, and I'm worried what it's like because now I'm 59 years old. It's really hard now. I used to be very slick and cool with Apple. Now I have Apple now. I don't have to do anything. Yesterday, I went to Apple and said, how do I ask Barrington what there should be? I have no idea. I mean, technology is very quick and very hard because now it's so hard, very hard to do it.
But it sounds like you found some good resources of people both in your home and in the community to help
Yeah,
out.
yeah,
Good.
I see they got like a blackboard or whatever that where you can sign your own. If you can't write, you can do your iPad, but if you can write, you can write just on a blackboard or whatever and stuff. So that's some other IT thing that you could do as well. I've seen a couple people had it and I says, "Oh, I need one too." So because I know there's some people they can't say much because of aphasia, you know, or they just started, but they can write a little bit or whatever and stuff. So if you don't have a phone or iPad or whatever, but if you have an iPad, you can actually put on the audio thing and say that's what I do and say, "Hello, my name is this," because that will help me sign because for me, I can't write. And that's just what I can't do that, but I can type, I can do the phone, and then do it. Then I can write. So it's technology. So some people are different than others.
And Sammy, you mentioned that you work for a technology company with assistive communication devices. Can you
Yeah.
speak to that too from your perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to mention there's the Job Accommodation Network, which is a great web page. You can scroll down and find the speech language impairment section, and it will list out some great ideas for accommodations that you can ask for. One of those is assistive technology. So something like, a device like a tablet that has some software on it, an app on it. that can help you communicate. So you can have little tiles or cards that you touch that, can say a word or a whole sentence to help you communicate, like answering the phone. You can also have like a keyboard on there, similar to what James was saying, right? If you're able to type things out, you can type out what you want to say and touch the speak button, and the device can actually help project that. You can also even plug headphones into a lot of your assistive technology if you're able to repeat things. So only you are hearing those prompts and you hear the device speak, and then you're able to kind of say that message yourself. So, like what Michael and James were saying, there's a lot out there. It's always changing and always improving.
Yeah.
Great. Yes, it is constantly changing. You're right. But you've all done a great job of finding things that work for you individually. And that's what matters, right? We have a couple questions. This one is a little more big picture, but for people who are wondering, how do I decide about should I go back to work? What's the chance I could get a job? How do I decide? What advice would you give me? Any words of wisdom for those folks who are thinking about whether or not to return to work?
Sammy?
Yeah, I think, one thing, I'm a big proponent and advocate for volunteering as a way to test it out, especially when, you have that concern about benefits coming into play. I think trying something without risking your benefits can be a really nice way to test that out. You have a lot of different community resources to find volunteer opportunities. Michael is writing poetry and publishing books. I think that's a great way to kind of test it out. Sit down at the computer or with a pen and paper and see if you like it, right? And there's no real risk to that besides finding out that you don't like it or it's challenging in the moment.
Any other advice from our panelists who've really had to think about these decisions in your own life?
Well, again, if you can't go back to work, but if you got volunteer work, and also, I mean, I think if you've seen the message, we got an ambassador for the aphasia or whatever. So if you want to be an ambassador, what it means is, talk about what aphasia mean and whether if you go to the store or go to the restaurant or whatever, and just keep telling them, what aphasia mean? And they says, no, do you know what if people had a stroke or had a brain injuries? And said, oh yeah, somebody had a brain. That's part of it is aphasia or whatever. And they need awareness. So
One last question, I think we're about out of time. Someone was asking about if they have aphasia, but also apraxia, and thinking about returning to work. Sammy, or I
Mhm.
don't know if the other panelists have experience with this. Any advice for folks who have apraxia and aphasia?
Well, for myself, I have praxia and aphasia too, and it's hard for me. But I'm trying anyways, and it's a little bit better now than before, so it's fine.
Yeah, I was going to say Todd's a wonderful example,
Right.
that you can return to work with aphasia and apraxia.
Yeah.
And I think, if you have both of those and it's really hard to communicate just verbally alone, that's when I would recommend looking into some kind of assistive technology, an app on your phone, trying out an AAC device like a Lingraphica device, and seeing if that can help you kind of meet more of your communication goals and life participation goals.
All right. Well, as always, this is a theme here. We could keep talking about this for another hour, but it is 8 o'clock and we want everyone to enjoy the rest of their evening. So I would first like to, again, thank our four wonderful experts for your time and sharing your stories and advice. We really, really appreciate you all so much. Um,
Catherine,
yes.
I want to say thank you so much for your help. I really
Oh,
appreciate you
Me
doing
too.
it.
This is great.
Thank you so
it's
much.
our pleasure to have you all here. You all are our experts, and we learn so much in every one of these webinars. So thank you all so much. If you want to find more information about the National Aphasia Association, you can find educational materials, resources, providers, and supports in your area. Visit us at aphasia.org. Our virtual programs are scheduled throughout the month, and they're open to people with aphasia, care partners, and healthcare providers. You can find more information about our programs, including all the Zoom links to participate at aphasia.org/online-events. And next month, our Ask the Expert webinar is going to be about the arts. So we have another panel talking about their experience with art and aphasia. So we hope to see you on Thursday, March 13th for that. And this is actually a special preview because on March 27th, we are having our third annual Night of Aphasia Arts, which we're really excited about. And it's not too late to submit your art, any type of art. You can scan the QR code or visit our website for more information about that. So March will be full of the arts. And again, if you have any questions, comments, feedback, email us at answers@aphasia.org. Thank you all again for spending some time with us tonight. We hope to see you next month. Have a wonderful evening and happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you.